about delivery skills. It consists of 3 important aspects, body language, vocal quality, and content. And as soon as you start talking, your audience is going to judge you immediately. Your delivery skills can either make or break your presentation. But before I begin, let me just start by asking one question. How many of you were actually paying attention to what I was saying versus how many of you were distracted by the way I was saying it? I'd be willing to bet most of you are probably distracted by the way I was saying it. So, let me begin. Hi there, my name is Mindy. I will be talking to you about delivery skills, which over my last year as a CDT, I have found can be very important. Delivery skills consist of 3 parts: your body language, your vocal quality, and the content, of course. Like I said earlier, your audience does judge you immediately, as I'm sure you probably noticed. And delivery skills can really make or break your presentation, as I showed you earlier. Starting with the most important, body language. It actually accounts for 55% of the total presentation. It consists of 5 parts. The first being your posture. Should you sit or stand? Depending on the size of your audience, if you're having a one-on-one classroom, chances are you're going to be sitting. Likewise, if you're speaking to 45 people, you're probably going to be wanting to stand to grab their attention. Also with posture, make sure that you're remembering that your feet are planted firmly on the ground, your back is straight, your chin is up, and your arms are not crossed or folded. The second aspect of body language are your hand gestures. Hand gestures can be a good way to add emphasis to a certain point. Likewise, though, they can be very distracting if you are someone that tends to over-gesture. I think I know a couple of people like that. The third aspect of body language is your pacing. Pacing in a physical sense. If you're moving back and forth too much, that can be very distracting to your audience. However, pacing can help you strengthen a transition from one point to another. The fourth aspect of body language is your facial expression. Your facial expression should match the content that you're teaching. An example of this could be when you're teaching your classroom about the core values and having fun, you're probably going to be saying that with a smile, as opposed to talking about health and safety standards. You're probably going to want to have a more serious look on your face so they understand the importance. The fifth and final aspect of body language is your eye contact. You want to make sure that you're making eye contact with everybody in the room without staring at one person too much. A good way to help make sure you don't do this is by utilizing the 3-second rule, which means don't stare at one person for more than 3 seconds. The second most important aspect of your delivery skills is your vocal quality. It actually counts for 38% of your presentation. Like body language, it consists of 5 important aspects. The first being volume. You want to make sure that you're speaking loud enough so that everyone can hear you. Keep in mind though, speaking too loudly can intimidate your audience. On the flip side, speaking too quietly can make it difficult for people to hear you and concentrate. The second aspect of vocal quality is your pitch. Pitch is how high or low of tone of voice you are speaking in. It should match your natural range. However, when projecting to a large audience, you want to make sure that your pitch is slightly lower than your natural range so that it's easier to project and alleviates any strain on your voice. The third aspect of vocal quality is your pace. Pace is how fast or slow you are speaking. If you're speaking too quickly, it can make it difficult for people to follow along and take notes. On the other hand, if you're speaking too slowly, it can make it hard for people to concentrate. You can ensure that you're using the correct pace by utilizing steps 5 through 8 of the 10 steps of training, which we learned earlier. The fourth aspect of vocal quality is inflection. Inflection is putting emphasis on certain words. Keep in mind that inflection can help break the monotony of training, and that you should also be speaking clearly and enunciating all of your words to make sure that you're being understood. The aspect of vocal quality, or something I'm sure we are all familiar with, filler words. They distract from your main point, and they also take away from your credibility. They're words that you say that don't actually add to the main point. Some common examples of these are like, so, okay, you know, awesome. The list goes on and on and on. We want to make sure that we're not using filler words because they prevent you from taking necessary pauses. The fifth and surprisingly least important aspect of delivery skills is the actual content. It only accounts for a whopping 7%. The way I see this is, with good body language and good vocal quality, your content is going to come through more clearly. On the other hand, with bad body language and bad vocal quality, it can become overly distracting to the point where the content doesn't even register. There are 5 things that you can do to ensure audience participation and buy-in with the actual content. The first is your enthusiasm. You want to seem like you are actually enthusiastic about the material that you're going over. Your trainee should be able to feel your desire to train the material. The second thing that you can do are have multiple interactive activities planned for your audience. An example of this, anytime I'm teaching a server classroom and we need to talk about the beer and liquor selection that we have, I always like to get out of our seats and walk over to the bar to get them interacting with not only the bartender, but it just gets them out of their seat. They can physically see everything that we have, as opposed to me just lecturing on and on and on. The third thing you can do to ensure audience participation and buy-in are by using the 10 steps of training. By going 2 steps forward and 2 steps back, you're making sure that your audience is retaining the information that you're trying to get them to, as well as making sure that they don't have any unanswered questions. The fourth thing that you can do to ensure audience participation and buy-in is by using encouraging statements and movements. You want to make sure that you are encouraging your audience for answers well done, as well as explaining what's in it for them. Why should they care about this? This helps them to understand why we do the things that we do. And finally, the fifth aspect of how to ensure audience participation and buy-in is is to not depend on one person to answer every single question. You want to make sure that you're asking everyone in the classroom a question, so you're not singling anyone out, and to make sure that everyone is on the same page. Now that you know all of the important aspects of delivery skills, body language, vocal quality, and content, you will be able to master the body language and the vocal quality to make sure that your content shines through.